Hi, I'm Vaughn Hazen. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer at CN Rail. First of all, let me start off with a few disclaimers. The views and opinions I express here are my own and do not necessarily reflect those of my employer. Any discussion of conflict, tension, or policy does not indicate alignment or judgment, regardless of my personal feelings, but it's shared solely for the purpose of illustrating potential impacts to digital supply resilience. Attribution is extremely difficult, and any mention of potential responsibility or action for action is purely speculative on my part, based on news article research, and should not be used as an assertion of fact. So with that out of the way, we can jump into the topic of geopolitical instability and digital supply chain resilience. We've seen significant concern over potential sabotage of Ukrainian allies providing military equipment and intelligence. Cuts to critical underwater infrastructure has put suspicion on Russian actors and proxies. Finland has charged the captain and two senior officers of the Eagle S, which is flagged on the Cook Islands, but is described by the EU's Executive Commission as part of Russia's shadow fleet, with aggravated criminal mischief and aggravated interference with communications. Many of the undersea cable cuts in the Baltic Sea are coming under the same scrutiny. We're seeing repeated cutting of Taiwan's Matsu and Penghu cables, which have been associated with the tensions over China's claim of ownership over Taiwan. Underwater cable cuts in the Red Sea have cast suspicions on Houthi rebels in Yemen, but may have been the result of an attack on the commercial ship Rubimar, which drifted after a missile attack and drug its anchor. And of course, this is related to the Gaza conflict with Israel. With critical underwater infrastructure, including electric transmission and potentially data centers, even data centers on land could be impacted by power cuts, reducing their resilience. Tariffs and export controls by the U.S. against China impact the immediate options available for digital supply chains and may split the market as China invests in their own semiconductor industry. Additionally, the retaliatory threat of restricting raw earth metals could have a direct impact on the availability of key components required for advanced technologies. More broadly, economic impacts from tariffs are pushing more organizations below the cybersecurity poverty line, increasing the probability that your partners aren't sufficiently investing in their cyber capabilities, opening up a potential path of least resistance to attack your organization. I was actually employed by a European company when the USA Patriot Act was passed. And I can tell you that the level of concern was extremely high with what was going on there and the concern of privacy. Europeans take privacy very seriously, as we know from the GDPR. But with immigration, customs, and enforcement's use of technology and aggregated data to identify where people are at any given moment, we're likely to see conflict with the EU, as privacy is sacrosanct to them, and EU citizen data may be in the mix. This could further drive data sovereignty concerns and requirements, which could limit geographic diversity for resilience against localized concerns, reducing overall digital resilience. Our digital supply chains also depend on people. You may partner with niche players to address specific needs. When those players get bought out, you may be in for a surprise like I experienced. One of our suppliers was purchased by a bigger player. And as part of that acquisition, the smaller company was forced to close a small office in Bangladesh with key talent because there was a significant and recent rift between Bangladesh and India, where the larger player had most of their resources. This rift was caused by a change in political leadership in Bangladesh and a turn against the Hindus there in Bangladesh, and has resulted in a lot of deaths of Hindus in Bangladesh and has caused a significant problem with them. So we live in a globally interconnected world. Supply chains have built up with an optimization model that sought out reliable, cost-effective solutions. That model has been turned on its head with increased nationalism and geopolitical conflict that create the examples I've shared. And I haven't even broached the subject of economic espionage. Despite this bleak outlook, there are still some measures under our own control. First of all, we should assume adversarial intent. That means that we should plan and design for a dynamic, non-binary trust model, commonly known as zero trust networking. It means that we segment off critical control systems and limit what can be done with any foothold situation. We should also understand our dependencies. Did you know when the AWS outage in Virginia occurred how much of your digital footprint depended on it? Do you have alternative routes or redundant data centers present in locations that could be cut off by undersea cable cuts? What open source code is running in your environment? And are we sure of its provenance and change history? We need to enforce supplier resilience in contractual language, including requirements around subcontracted functions, supporting our digital landscape, and transfer risk with insurance capabilities. And that gets more challenging as the insurance companies are more interested in exactly what you're doing in your environment, and the questionnaires are becoming much more detailed and inquisitive. So as a takeaway, I suggest the following checklist. First of all, map out your dependencies. You need to know what dependencies you have for routing, for the open source software, for every aspect of your assets and your digital footprint. You need to harden your environment. That means you need to leverage good hygiene, zero trust networking principles, and set up segmentation that will prevent lateral movement. You need to diversify your risk. You need to look at your geographic risk, whether it's natural or otherwise. But we all know that we've seen that it's actually happening either by proxies or by state actors. You need to look at your technology. Are you dependent on a specific supplier for technology? What are your energy sources? Are you at risk of being cut off? You need to transfer some of that risk with insurance. You need to practice with tabletops and simulations to build resilience, muscle memory. We know that geopolitics has always impacted commerce. What's new is the rapidly changing landscape and overall increase in global conflict. And if there's one thing that business hates, it's uncertainty. And as risk professionals, it's our role to flag that risk and build resilience. Thank you.